Pam, tell me how this lands with you. I got a question to start our episode today, and that would be it seems like there's a mechanism within us at times to where I'm faced with something that I may want, but I also have an element of I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose it, right? And so I get caught in this idea of like I have a job that I'm not sure if I really want it or if I'm more afraid of what would I do if I don't have it,
Okay.
right? And so how do you tell the difference between our motivations here? Because this also happens in marriage for sure. Of we get caught up in situations where we're heading today is a continuation of last week's episode of can I ever trust him again? Of we're going to look at his side of the equation as well as hers a little bit through a slightly different lens, and diving into the idea of okay, is my motivation largely because I don't want to lose what I have, or am I really choosing what I have?
Well, okay. I guess I'm a little confused on the question. The fear of I don't want to lose what I have is not because necessarily I want it, but it's just what I know.
The devil I know, or
Devil
the
I
comfort I know, is also another way to say it a little softer.
Yeah. Yeah. Or do I really want to choose this thing because this is what I want?
Right.
Am I afraid of what the unknown would be, or do I really just want this and I've got to work hard for it?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And because there's nuances in both sides of this equation, and they're going to overlap and maybe even be both in existence.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's worth discussing the differences between them, because I think it's part of what makes us human. Is very rarely are things completely black and white of it's this way or it's this way. And those are typically only about safety in life.
Sure.
Everything else, man, there's all kinds of nuances, and we get inundated in our world with follow your dreams and don't let anybody stop you. And then they also get, well, hold on to what you got and so it's just all this, what's really my motivation? And that's where we want to go as we pick up where we left off from last week's episode.
Okay.
Which real quick, last week was a wife that emailed in after a discovery of an affair that her husband had had. So we talked about how it landed on her, the anger, the numbness, and then what does she need to do? How can she ever trust again? And we pivoted.
And both herself. That was a big one. She was like, I don't even trust myself.
And that's where we tried to pivot it some. This isn't necessarily as much about him as it is her.
Mm-hmm.
And so this week we want to shift it to talking some more about him. And granted, we are only going to be using the details we have from her mind on this, right?
Sure.
Because as she went through this, she wrote about that experience with him. And here's what she said about him in that email, which was when she confronted him, he denied it at first and then admitted everything. He says he wants to save the marriage. He's been remorseful and he's been answering her questions. And so that's all we've really got to go on as far as the details of what his account is in this process. And so we're going to talk about what that actually looks like based on this detail, because we can take it at face value, but there's also a ton of information we can pull out of here. Right. Because what happened with this is an all too common occurrence of when confronted with something, there can be a denial, and then there's the trickle admission.
Yes. And why do you deny things in the beginning? And I think a lot of us can relate to, oh my gosh, I got caught. I don't want to get caught. I don't want this person to know that I would have done something like that.
Or even as simple as I got caught and I didn't account for my time or a little bit of money I might have spent a certain way. And when it comes out, I immediately deny it, or, oh, I forgot about that. And I don't own it. And so there is a protective mechanism that you're kind of hinting at here of, I don't want to be seen in this way. I don't like being caught in this way.
And I just got busted.
And it all just came forward. But there is a huge difference between what do I do in that moment on, do I continue it like as if it didn't happen and deny, or do I step forward when confronted with things? Because this happens in a normal day-to-day interactions with people too, where it's like, you said this when we talked about this 3 days ago. And we as time slice memory error creatures can have like, well, I completely forgot it, or you skewed it. And so we can get so much caught up in all this dynamic, but what matters is what's being revealed here on, am I being, is it an indictment on me? Is it a judgment on me? Or is this just something that's being exposed to me that I need to own and deal with better and move forward? Because both sides will help determine not only my path, but my relationship's path.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, they can both go the same way. There's a lot of couples I've worked with where there was denial after denial after denial, and then it finally all came clean, and they're fine. They've got a good marriage again, and they've built a life, and he's kind of, or she's kind of helped own their own life better. But it's more circuitous route to go that way rather than compared to the ones that's like, yeah, I came forward. I couldn't live with the guilt. I disclosed it to them, or when it was discovered, yep, it was actually a relief to own it all. And so there's a difference in how we start that process, but we can all end up in a good spot or not.
It's totally possible. It's totally possible. And are you causing yourself more agony over time?
Right. Absolutely. And this is where the sequence matters in this process of what she's describing.
Okay.
Right. Because the man who's genuinely reckoning himself, like he's coming to grips with himself on who he is and what he's capable of and what he's done and the lengths he went,
mm-hmm.
because affairs don't happen easily if they've gone on for any length of time.
Okay.
Because you got to keep things hidden. And there's usually a reasoning behind why we keep things hidden. So it makes it hard to do in a lot of ways.
Okay.
And so if he's really recognizing himself and he's genuinely taking on himself better, he doesn't deny when he's confronted, versus the man who's kind of primarily motivated by fear of losing what he may have or being seen in that light. Knee-jerk reactions are to deny and lie. Mm-hmm. And so that's where it kind of, there's the fork in the road that matters. And this is really I guess a message to everybody that's out there that has gone through anything similar, to kind of replay in our own mind, or is going through something that maybe it's not the degree of an affair, but the degree of how exposed am I in my marriage, and how do I handle the times when I am exposed, when something that wasn't really casting me in a really good light shows up. Like I had an overreaction to something and I tried to act like it was no big deal, but when I look at my family or my spouse and I see that was a big deal on how I reacted, how do I own myself in this? Do I deny it? Oh, well, that's just, or do I come forward and say, yeah, that's ugly on me.
The way we react matters, and it sets the stage for the rest. Yeah.
Right. And so the question that's worth sitting with for him in this equation is, when did he actually decide to become honest and to come forward? When did he finally come forward with stuff?
Okay.
Because that's what matters most on what does the near term look like that helps then shape the long term. Yeah. And that's not about the marriage yet. That's about the two people.
Yeah. So you think about that when you have this chart, what happened for them, a denial and then the honesty, and people may just focus on, well, he came clean with it. He was honest with it and he came clean. The denial happened.
Yes.
And that,
it's a bell that can't be unrung too.
It is a data point for her that I would think would sit there and make you question, well, on future communications, is this real? So what does she do with that, with this chain of events? Even though he did end up coming clean, that there was a time of not coming clean. What does she do with that?
Well, okay, so let's look at the whole dynamic of first on a systemic level of how this plays out and why it's impactful.
Okay. Why
this, unpacking this when the nuance of it matters, because it compounds the situation in a specific way, right? Because what he did with the affair, like we talked about last week, doesn't have anything to do with her. It impacts her, but she's not involved in it. It's a hidden part of his life that she is not responsible for, culpable for creating, anything like that, in the sense of She's not a cause. But the denial of something is something that happened right in front of her, right? So she sees that. And then it doesn't align with the data that I get that once prompted whatever brought up the question or the confrontation of, hang on, who's this person? Or tell me about this, or what, however it is the confronting went. And so when it's denied, now all of a sudden, that's what makes our brains go into, well, what else are you lying about? What else do I not know? Because I watched that happen right in front of me.
So I have to back up because I know that I've had a hard time with, over the years, you saying, whether it be porn or an affair, of my spouse did this, I'm the collateral damage, but it's not about me.
Mm-hmm.
And that just rubs wrong, right?
Okay.
Because at least it did when I first started hearing this. And I think that there may be people listening that you got to unpack that a little bit to say, wait a second, we're in this marriage together and he cheated on me. How are you saying this isn't about me? Because it is about me. And it feels like an indictment on who I am as a spouse, that my spouse would do that to me.
Okay. So
but to me is probably not the wording you would use.
To me is not the wording I will use. The impact of it is what happens to you.
Yeah.
But the reasons behind it, and that's what typically kicks into play, is, well, if we would have had more sex, or if I looked like this, or if I could have been like this, or if we could have we do all of these examples, which are typically fueled by something that's been exposed in me from this dynamic that was already there in my life, which is just the same thing that goes on with the person that did the cheating.
Yeah.
There's something exposed in them that maybe they didn't know about, or they thought they could keep in check, or that's just who they are. And all of those are worth ferreting out to figure out, who am I actually in this marriage with?
Yeah.
Right. Because last week we had a comment about, how can I ever trust him again? Well, on this particular example, an instance, he's shown he's not trustworthy in that arena right now. Can it be changed? Absolutely. But what's actually been shown is he's dangerous in this aspect of the relationship. So act accordingly. Doesn't mean leave and run or completely shell up, but it's the same kind of thing of, there's something exposed in me from this that just is a natural aspect of what happens in a relationship. It's not something that was done to do it, right? It's not, because I can't control what you do.
No, you can't.
You can't control what I do, ultimately. You can influence it. And we get caught up in, well, maybe I could have been a better influence. But it really then starts to get too far into the control world.
Yeah, I have no control over your actions. So him having the affair, that was him doing it. And what now you're coming down to is, okay, when we actually have communication back and forth, and I'm asking a question right to your face and you deny it, this is where we're addressing today, right? This is where we're going to, this is what's right here between the two of us. And I'm looking at you in the eyes and you're denying it. So what do I do with that then going forward?
Right, because this is what haunts the spouse that was betrayed going forward, is because, wait, you've shown you won't step forward with the whole of you, which we easily step forward with the better parts of us, the parts we really like about ourselves. We don't usually step forward with this is
the ugly part of me.
This is the ugly part of me. This is a little bit of the dark side of me. And I don't like people seeing it because I don't like knowing I have it. But that's the thing in marriage that gets exposed, is the quirks, the idiosyncrasies are the softer levels of that. Yeah. But there's deeper levels of, oh yeah, I can enjoy ripping somebody's heart out. I can enjoy being cruel. I can enjoy, and because that's a part of us we don't like to think that we have, but guaranteed every single one of us has this to some degree. That I can take pleasure in karma is somebody I don't like happening, right? And it's like, okay, the pleasure of that is the problem in me. That's the dark part of me. And that's what, just to kind of paint that picture, that's the part that gets exposed in marriage. And so when I can come forward better to just, yes, and just, I don't have to solve this yet. For him, he doesn't have to solve that moment yet. He just needs to own that moment better. And when he does that, she will settle down. And I don't mean that in an acting fool or overreacting. The core of her mind will just start to settle down, because then you start to have some consistency, a baseline you can build from. To make sense, that felt weird on how I heard myself say.
Well, saying she'll settle down.
That's what threw me off. Is like
that wording. I hear what you're saying, but I don't know that the wording is the best. In that, if I'm thinking of it this way, there's two things that she's having to deal with. Number one, he's had an affair. Number two, now he's lied directly to my face about it. And even though he came clean, she still has now two things to deal with rather than just the one. Mm-hmm. And in big scheme, if you come clean up front, okay, I've still got the one thing to deal with, but I don't have this other thing piling on. Now I've got both of them. And so that's where I kind of think it's you're
the settled down. This is the better way to have said that is when I've got something I can't quite put a finger on what it is, mm-hmm. and I get the truth, even if it's really ugly. We talked about this last week. Mm-hmm. Even if it's really ugly, but I get the truth, my mind and my soul will settle down.
I can start to make sense of it.
Right. I can see it as, okay, all right, it makes sense. I don't like it. It hurts and I got to deal with this. But now I'm not spinning wondering what's going on. What am I? Because I feel like I'm a fool if I can't put pieces together about something that just seems to be off.
Well, I might feel like a fool anyway, because how did I not see the affair? But
right. but what she does with this, what will matter is it's so tempting to get caught up in, well, I see more details. I just need to process things together. I need more information from him. I need him to act a certain way. I need him to account, which again, same thing we talked about last week, puts it on his shoulders. And so for her, she needs to sit with about what she's learned in that moment, like you're describing, of not only has he done this, he also just lied about it. And so I got to settle that dynamic in my mind of, okay, what does this actually mean to me that he wouldn't come forward? Because that's the person I'm actually addressing first before I address what went on outside of my marriage involving him. And when she can start to do this, where she doesn't come at it in any semblance of off-balanceness or needing reassurances or insecurity driven or all of the things that we get because it's based out of fear, it's based out of reacting. I'm actually somebody that requires more to engage with, because I can handle myself better. So you can try to lie your way out of situations. And you've already shown that's a mode you'll try. So now what my job becomes as her is, I need to just be somebody that sits with it and know it'll come clean or it won't. I'll learn the truth or I won't. And
oh gosh, it always comes out at some point.
It absolutely does. And that's where, when she can settle herself down, you get to it faster. You get to that dilemma faster of what's the real truth? Mm-hmm. Because I don't need you to reassure me of things, because I know it's going to come clean. I know it's going to come out. Mm-hmm. And so I'll make my determination of what I do based on what happens when it comes out and what it took us to get there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because if it's on and on and on and on, I feel like I'm constantly chasing. That sets the dynamic of the relationship. It just becomes that classic pursuer distancer, right? That is based on that of, I'm constantly trying to catch him and he's going to be constantly trying to avoid getting caught. And that's a human thing. But when you get to where, you know what, I'm not chasing anymore.
Yeah.
You're in this relationship or you're not. And that goes to the question that then pivots it to him.
Yeah.
Of his motivation is either, and this is very, very simplistic because there's a lot more nuance in it than we're going to talk about completely in the show, but it goes to two different paths. One is he's genuinely confronting who he is and recognizing what's gone on in himself, what he could do, how he's done it, what led to it. He does all of this work himself. And this is the work that anybody that's had any kind of a betrayal needs to do, of what all went on here for me? What was this about for me? Who am I in this? Who was I and who am I in this? And if he's genuinely, that's his motivation, he would be looking for answers for himself of that, about himself, of exposing the weak spots, the darkness, what's missing, what am I after, all of that. Or if it's path 2, which would be I'm just afraid of what I might lose. I want to just hold on to what I have. And that's my primary motivation. Because again, this is where the nuance lies. It's typically not 100% one way or another. Because these are both ands.
It feels like if I'm just the person that is scared of losing something, as opposed to I'm really trying to figure out what's going on within me. Why would I do something like this? That it feels like that would just come out as a not so genuine response.
The nuance of how you can tell the difference, let me see if I'm reading where you're heading, is if I have a genuine, I want to deal with who I am, I'm going to be better at sitting with the struggle and the pain between us as this is going on.
Yeah.
And sitting alongside you as you're doing the work you're doing, dealing with what all just went on because of the impact of me, versus if my primary motivation is I don't want to lose what I have, I'm just trying to calm any uncomfortable moments between us as fast as I can so that I can get back to the normal of life.
And there is your old normal will never be there
Correct.
again, right? I mean, it's just, it can't be.
Right. I just want to stop the bleeding.
Yeah.
As fast as I can. And so what's interesting about this for her is in the short term, because she mentioned in her email that it was a month ago when she emailed in. And so in the short term, both of these processes would produce the same behavior in some ways.
Okay.
Right. It'll look very, very similar. And so you determine the difference of what's really going on underneath it over the long haul. And the way you figure that out is the person that's truly motivated by themselves and what they want to do, who they are and what they've recognized in themselves. And it's like, okay, wait, I don't know if I like me with what all just went on. I don't want to be that person. I don't like that. My integrity is better than that. My character can be better than that. That's the person that keeps working long after things are settled down between us, in the sense of it's not solely about that anymore in our marriage. It's more the day-to-day, the routine. And one of the biggest markers is a lot of times people get into counseling after this, which is highly recommended. Go through this with somebody that's in your corner and is pro-marriage. Not just you have your counselor, they have their counselor, and the two counselors don't ever talk, which that happens because sometimes when you hear one side of the story, I'll hear clients that say, yeah, they said I should have ran as fast as I could. And once I hear both sides, I'm like, why? I don't understand that. There's nothing that huge, in my opinion, going on. And so it's just this element of when things are settled and we start to feel like we've got a life we're building again, and some of it'll look like and feel like the normal, but it'll also get to where we're seeing the glimpse of something else. If I'm motivated primarily by who am I and who am I becoming, I'll keep the work going. Mm-hmm. That has nothing to do with us, but everything to do with us. If I'm motivated primarily by I just don't want to lose it, I'll stop working.
When it gets to some sort of
it's normal,
safe level, I'm comfortable.
It feels comfortable again.
Yeah. And
so now all of a sudden I start spending more time on my phone when that was a behavior said I was going to stop. I'm going to start traveling and being gone more than I was when that was a behavior I said I was going to stop. And I'm going to, and all these little things will start to come back because I really haven't confronted myself. I've just made sure the marriage is okay.
So how can she tell the difference? I mean, it's only a month in.
Well, so. She can't yet.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And that's where it's you take the face value of what it is right now. And the way she'll tell the difference in the long run is if she's doing something similarly on her side of the equation, she pretty much demands more without saying it.
You mean if she's doing something similar on her side of the equation as far as looking at herself, working on herself,
right,
trying to be better,
right, recognizing, okay, what just got exposed in me here? Mm-hmm. How did I react? Do I like being that woman? Could I be stronger and how I take care of some insecurities or some fears or some uncertainties and how I deal with that in my life, and not in all areas of my life. Can control and confront myself better. And I do that work, because then when you come home and it feels normal, and he comes home and there's all the signs of, okay, something's shifted. Something's a little off again. And it may not at all be an affair. It could just be something that has changed in a marriage, because this is what marriages do.
Yeah.
She doesn't go crazy and back in that cycle of, okay, now what? Here we go. And now you start kicking into investigative mode and PI and all of the things that we can do to try to catch somebody, because it's driven by fear, rather than, you know what? I trust myself enough to know I'll know, and I'll ask the questions I need to ask, and I'll handle the answers, even if I don't want to know that answer, but I'll ask that question. Because a lot of times we don't go down some paths with people we really care about because I don't want to know where it might lead.
That is true.
I don't want to hear the answer.
That
I'd
is
rather
true.
live in the dark a little bit longer, as crazy as that sounds.
That is so true.
And so so for her, it's her doing similarly alongside him, where they're doing parallel self-development work too, whatever that looks like for each of them.
So in some of this, would you say that you would see that if he's got something going on, he's maybe initiating conversation about a struggle or whatever's happening, as opposed to just waiting for her to ask a question?
Yes.
Right.
There would be, because
That's a sign.
Well,
Here's
this is one of those things that think about in general life. If in our life, if one of us gets into something that I'm really intrigued by in life, of like, I'm into running right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I'm gone on this journey the last year and a half, and I have these moments of just like, I didn't know this. This is kind of cool. And I'm kind of learning things about myself or about whatever it is I'm trying to do or a goal I've got. What we naturally do is share that with people we care about.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like talking to you about this because it's kind of who I am in some ways. It's a part of me that I really enjoy. And so you don't have to count on me or ask questions to share about something, because I'll probably share share it at some point. And so it's that same kind of thing when I'm learning things about myself. I mean, when we were in this couple's shoes, I had all kinds of times where I'm driving, and that was my therapy, because during therapy, most of my therapy happened while driving, because I'd think, and I'd see something about my family of origin pattern or something about how a path I took. And it's like, that's okay. I see myself in a different light. It's very likely I'm going to come home and say, guess what I discovered about me today? Right? I didn't know this. And I can't remember any exact ones, but I can almost promise, just based on the life I've had with you for 33 years, anytime I would have said, I realized I do this, you would have gone, you do.
I'm glad you're figuring that out.
Glad you finally see the light. I saw it 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So there's we'll know, because as we evolve and as we grow, it comes out of us.
Yeah.
We share it. We talk about it. It's seen. Like one of the bigger things to me as a marker, when we were in this stage and in this journey and early on, I actually asked you, why'd you stay? I don't remember how I worded it, but why'd you keep in this based on what the affair I had? And you said, well, you started serving again. You started helping people again, just because you could. And because that's just kind of who I like to be, I guess. And it was just kind of this whole, okay. Because there was just parts of me that just started coming back out that weren't there. They were just cleaner. They were just seen. They were just felt. That are just experienced. And as we're growing, we can't help but have that happen. The stuff we care about, people around us know.
Yeah.
And if I'm growing and evolving and truly handling myself better, it's going to be seen by those around me, particularly family, because we just can't hide.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just comes out.
Yeah. She's just got to give that part time for now.
Yeah.
You wish that you had answers and that things would go faster, but all of this, it takes time.
It does, because self-development work it's in fits and starts, I guess is what it is. And like we grow a little bit and we stop and we consolidate some of that growth. And then we grow a little bit, and then because we're constantly in a process of evolving. And we learn more about ourselves, and then what do I do with what I just learned?
Mm-hmm.
Because doing self-development work, this is the thing, let's just end it with this. One of the things I love about the job I've got, and then the listeners that we have, is many times they're the most courageous people on the planet.
Yeah.
Because they have the courage to take on themselves and then their marriage in that order.
Yeah.
Because that's the way this whole thing goes in our book.
Yeah. I mean, the marriage doesn't change if you don't make yourself better, right? I mean, that's where it has to start. You're the foundation.
And so if you heard something today, and you're in similar shoes, or just more in the human shoes and perspective of, I'm really kind of need to get better at recognizing what's my motivations here.
Yeah.
What's really driving me? Is it I'm willing to take the risk even if I don't get it? Or I really just want to have assurances I'm not going to lose it?
Yeah.
We'd love to hear what's going on. Tell us honestly, which side are you on, and what are you learning? Yeah. What is admitting that feel like for you? That's the email we want to read or hear at 214-702-9565 or feedback@sexymarriageradio.com. So however you took a little bit of time out to spend with us today, thanks. We'll see you next time.